Hello, my name is Jack from WePC, and today we're going to be looking at this ACER pre-built here, which is the N50-610. It is a budget pre-built, so it's about what, $750, something like that. So what me and Jay class as budget we were discussing earlier, it's kind of in between the $500 and $700-ish range for budget. Looking around it, it does try to be aesthetically pleasing, bless it. It is, I like the look of it. It's got this two-tone kind of, well, it's not two-tone, but this grey sort of protruding panel, which doesn't do anything, I don't think. It's just to add to the interesting shape. Same with this top bit here. But it's not the ugliest thing. It's kind of got some grill going on at the bottom, some like red diffuser. But it's not terrible. It's not the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And obviously the front panel, the important things are the connectors. You've got your USB 3, your USB-C, and two separate audio and microphone inputs there, which is good. You always want to have them split. It's just easier. Bring it round the back because there's no fancy side glass panel here today. So there's nothing to look at there. So at the back here, you've got your USB 3.0s there. You've got 4 of them, I believe. 2 2.0, and an Ethernet cable port, and 3 just standard analog audio jacks inputs. You will notice that there's a very minimal backplate. There's very minimal I/O. It's because it's a proprietary motherboard. More on that later. 80mm fan. Obviously you've got your 1650 here with your DVI port and your HDMI port. So that's about it. Of course you've got your kettle lead. The only thing really to note on the side panel is this honeycomb sort of design, these perforated hexagons. So inside it's about as budget pre-built as budget pre-built gets. Inside it does have an i5 10400, and I've just mentioned a 1650 as well, 4 gig version. It does have 8 gigs of RAM, but single channel only. And it has an M.2, which is 128 gig, and a hard drive, which is 1 terabyte. Not too sure of the power supply because they've done a very good job at hiding it. There's literally not an easy way to take that out. We've not took it apart. This is how it comes. But yeah, that's simply, it's a nice simple little PC. So I guess all that's really left to do is throw it in some benchmarks and see how it does. Right, so we just loaded up Fortnite first. It's in 1080p. It's doing okay. Everything's like maxed out, like as high as it can go. It's averaging about 52 FPS with 1% at 40 and 0.1 at 12. So it's not terrible. There's some stuttering, but it is a surprisingly demanding game to run. But yeah, it's doing okay. We're going to try it next in 1440p and 4K if it will manage it. I'm not sure it will, but it might. All right, so we're in 1440p, ultra settings again, obviously, and it's not doing too. It's not terrible. I mean, you can definitely play at 1440p, 30 FPS. It is quite consistent. The stuttering isn't too bad, but obviously, if you want to play competitively, you want the higher FPS. You can knock the graphical settings down. You can do that, but I just, for the purpose of the benchmark, have it all in ultra. But yeah, if you knock everything down, it's probably playable. But you're going to want to probably stick with 1080p for this particular build. Alright, so it's doing alright in TF2. 1080p obviously, ultra settings. TF2 does tend to stutter with being an old game and a really old engine. It's not the greatest stability, even on the best systems, but 242 average. So obviously it does pretty well in 1080p, but we're going to switch over to 2K now or 1440p and see how it does that. So obviously it's doing a little worse in 1440p, more pixels to render, means a harder time rendering, but it's not, you know, it's not representative of every game. It's definitely its own unique case is TF2, but it's kind of the calibre of games you're going to be expecting to play on this particular budget rig. So yeah, it's doing alright. I'd be happy with this, playing TF2 back in the day. So we're going to chuck it into something that's kind of in between the two, which is PUBG. It's kind of, you know, sandwich right in between the performance of Fortnite and TF2. So yeah, we'll do that. Alright, so 1080p, max settings again, obviously. We don't do nothing but max. Nice steady 62 FPS, which is not bad. Oh, come on, give me a gun. It's stuttering a little bit at 20 FPS. That's not terrible, you know, you do see it, but it's not the worst I've seen. I've seen higher end cards do worse, to be honest. But 60 is the baseline, I think, of playing games in the 21st century. 2021, it's 60 FPS you want to be playing your games at. So yeah, PUBG 1080p on Ultra is definitely something you can play on this pre-built PC, so I'm happy with that. We're going to chuck it in 1440p in a second and see how that does. 1440p, again ultra settings, you'd see a definite performance hit of about 15-20 FPS, but it's playable. It's like console frame rates, last gen, not current gen. If it's very stuttery, it's really slow, it feels like it takes ages to respond. But obviously you're going to get that. It's not made to be a powerhouse, but it's doing its best, and I'd say its best is amicable. But yeah, it's doing all right. 38 average, 31 1%, and 13 0.1%, which is again, PUBG's kind of competitive, I'd say. So you probably do want to be playing PUBG in 1080p for the higher frame rates, or again knock the settings down. We are in like ultra everything, so it's definitely doing well. So we've just thrown the N50-610 through some benchmarks, and this is the part of the video where I tell you my review of it. I just slapped it really hard. Things I think it does right, things that maybe I'd improve. All in all, I'd say the way the market is right now, you know, with GPU, CPU prices being absolutely through the roof because they're being scalped because of no stock, I think that a pre-built is definitely kind of the way to go if you're not willing to wait for stock to come back to normal, prices to come back to normal. So this PC at about $750 is okay, it's acceptable. Obviously it's a GTX 1650, 4GB, and the i5 10400 in it as well. So the CPU is current gen, which is what we like. So again, at that price point, a current gen CPU and a not so old GPU is not a bad thing. A lot of people tend to buy pre-builts with the premise it will upgrade them in the future. Now unfortunately, this isn't really a PC you can upgrade in the future. It has a proprietary motherboard, which is a strange shape. It looks like a blocky silhouette of Mount Vesuvius. So, although you could probably put another motherboard in this PC case, you wouldn't be able to put this motherboard in another PC case. They'd do this on purpose, product manufacturers, just to make you stick with the build and make you potentially want to upgrade to one of their higher pre-builts instead of building your own. They tend to play on your inability or fear to build a new PC, just generally stuff like that, which is, there's a market for it, so that's fine. One stick of RAM. It's one 8GB stick of RAM. One 8GB stick. They could have, it would have been exactly the same price to have two 4GB sticks. That's dual channel, double the bandwidth, and the same amount of memory. You would push more performance for literally no money if they'd have stuck two sticks in here. But they haven't done that. It does also come with a mouse and keyboard. I mean, it's not mechanical. You're not going to be getting a Razer keyboard with it. It's a pre-built that they offload on you, but it's nice to have. If you don't have a mouse and keyboard, or if you're like me, you do a lot of tinkering with computers, other people's, it's nice to have a spare set of my mouse and keyboard around. Are they wireless? Okay. Wireless mouse and keyboard. It's excused now. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching. This has been a review of the N50-610. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, and check here for another one of our videos. Yeah, this has been Jack for WePC. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.